On this video, I'm going to continue reading from James Allen's essays on spirituality, on meditation. Please feel free to share your thoughts, your comments, your feedback, your insights. What do you think of my style of reading? Does it resonate with you? Please feel free to share your insights, your feedback. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and please feel free to like or dislike this video by pressing the like or dislike button. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me as I read this amazing collection of essays written by the amazing spiritual teacher, James Allen. I shall continue. To put away self and passion and establish oneself in right doing, this is the highest wisdom. Thought for the evening. Dream lofty dreams, and as you dream, so shall you become. Your vision is a promise of what you shall one day be. Your ideal is a prophecy of what you shall at last unveil. The greatest achievement was at first and for a time a dream. The oak sleeps in the acorn, the bird waits in the egg, and in the highest vision of the soul, a waking angel stirs. Your circumstances may be uncongenial, but they shall not long remain so when you perceive an ideal and strive to reach it. January 23rd, thought for the morning. He who has conquered doubt and fear has conquered failure. His every thought is allied with power, and all difficulties are bravely met and wisely overcome. His purposes are seasonably planted, and they bloom and bring forth fruit which does not fall prematurely to the ground. Thought allied fearlessly to purpose becomes creative force. He who knows this is ready to become something higher and stronger than a mere bundle of wavering thoughts and fluctuating sensations. He who does this has become the conscious and intelligent wielder of his mental powers. Meditation for the day. Not departing from the path of holiness, but surmounting all difficulties and continuing to the end whatsoever does this will comprehend truth. When great difficulties arise and troubles beset, regard your perplexity as a call to deeper thought and more vigorous action. Nothing will attack you that you are not capable of overcoming. No problem will vex you that you cannot solve. The greater your trial, the greater your test of strength, and the more complete and triumphant your victory. However complicated your maze of confusion may be, there is a way out of it, and the finding of that way will exercise your powers to the utmost and will bring you all your latent skills, all your latent skill, energy, and resource. And when you have mastered that which threatens to master you, you'll rejoice in a newfound strength. Let me repeat that last sentence. When you have mastered that which threatens to master you, you will rejoice in a newfound strength. Knowing the truth by practice and being at one with truth, you'll be invincible, for truth cannot be confounded or overthrown. Thought for the evening. Man's true place in the cosmos is that of a king, not a slave, a commander under the law of good, and not a helpless tool in the region of evil. I write for men, not for babes, for those who are eager to learn and earnest to achieve, for those who will put away for the world's good a petty personal indulgence, a selfish desire, a mean thought, and live on as though it were not, sans craving and regret. Man is a master. If he were not, he could not act contrary to law. Evil and weakness are self-destructive. The universe is girt with goodness and strength and protects the good and the strong. The angry man is the weak man. January 24th, thoughts for the morning. Not by learning will a man triumph over evil. Not by much study will he overcome sin and sorrow. Only by conquering himself will he conquer evil. Only by practicing righteousness will he put an end to sorrow. Not for the clever, nor the learned, nor the self-confident is life triumphant, but for the pure, the virtuous, and wise. The former achieve their particular success in life, but the latter alone achieve the great success so invincible and complete that even in the apparent defeat, it shines with added victory. Meditation for the day. Look not outside thee, nor behind thee, for the light and blessedness of truth, but look within. We advance by a series of efforts. We gather strength, whether mental or physical, by a succession of strivings in given directions. Exertion, oft repeated, leads to power. It is by obeying this law that the athlete trains himself to accomplish wonderful feats of speed or endurance. When the exertion is along intellectual lines, it leads to unusual talent or genius. And when in spiritual channels, it leads to wisdom or transcendent greatness. We should not mourn when circumstances are driving us to greater efforts and more practiced exertion. Events are only evil to the mind that makes them so. They are good to him that accepts their discipline as salutary. Thou would find truth within the narrow sphere of thy duty, even in the humble and hidden sacrifices of thine own heart. Thought for the evening. The true silence is not merely a silent tongue, it is a silent mind. To merely hold one's tongue and yet to carry about a disturbed and ranking mind is no remedy for weakness and no source of power. Silentness, to be powerful, must envelope the whole mind, must permeate every chamber of the heart. It must be the silence of peace. To this broad, deep, abiding silentness, a man attains only in the measure that he conquers himself. January 25th, thought for the morning. By curbing his tongue, a man gains possession of his mind. The fool babbles, gossips, argues, and bandies words. He glories in the fact that he has had the last word and has silenced his opponent. He exults in his own folly, is ever on the defensive, and wastes his energies in unprofitable channels. He is like a gardener who continues to dig and plant in unproductive soil. The wise man avoids idle words, gossips, vain argument, and self-defense. He is content to appear defeated, rejoices when he is defeated, knowing that, having found and removed another error in himself, he has thereby become wiser. Blessed is he who does not strive for the last word. Meditation for the day. There is no blessedness anywhere until impatience is sacrificed. Despondency, anxiety, worry, and irritability cannot cure the ills against which they are directed. They only add more misery to the troubles that prompt them. The cultivation of a steadfast and serene spirit cannot be overlooked if life is to yield any measure of usefulness and happiness. The trifles and even greater troubles which annoy would soon dissolve and disappear if confronted with a temper that refuses to be ruffled and disturbed. Personal aims, wishes, schemes, and pleasures will meet with checks, rebuffs, and obstacles. And it is in learning to meet these reverses in a wise and calm spirit that we discover the true and abiding happiness within our heart. When impatience and irritability are put away, then is realized and enjoyed the blessedness of a strong, quiet, and peaceful mind. Thought for the evening. Desire is a craving for possession. Aspiration is the hunger of the heart for peace. The craving for things leads ever farther and farther from peace, and not only ends in deprivation, but is in itself a state of perpetual want, until it comes to an end. Rest and satisfaction are impossible. The hunger for things could never be satisfied, but the hunger for peace can, and the satisfaction of peace is fully possessed, and all selfish desire is abandoned. Then there is fullness of joy, abounding plenty, and rich and complete blessedness. January 26th, thought for the morning. A man will reach the kingdom by purifying himself, and he can only do this by pursuing a process of self-examination and self-analysis. The selfishness must be discovered and understood before it can be removed. It is powerless to remove itself. Neither will it pass away of itself. Darkness ceases only when light is introduced, so ignorance can only be dispersed by knowledge, selfishness by love. A man must first of all be willing to lose himself, his self-seeking, before he can find himself, his divine self. He must realize that selfishness is not worth clinging to, that it is a master altogether unworthy of his service, and that divine goodness alone is worthy to be enthroned in his heart as the supreme master of his life. Meditation for the day. The greatest blessedness comes to him who infuses into his mind the purest and noblest thoughts. We are becoming wise when we know and realize that happiness abides in certain habits of mind or mental characteristics, rather than in material possessions, or in certain combinations of circumstances. It is a common delusion to imagine that if one only possessed this or that, a little more money, a little more leisure, this man's talent or that man's opportunities, or if one had better friends or more favorable surroundings, one would be happy with a perfect felicity. Alas, discontent and misery lie in such vain wishes. If happiness is not already found within, it will never be found without. The happiness of a wise mind abides through all vicissitudes. Your whole life is a series of effects having their cause in thought in your own thought. For the evening. Be still, my soul, and know that peace is thine. Be steadfast, heart, and know that strength divine belongs to thee. Cease from thy turmoil, mind, and thou the everlasting rest shall find. If a man would have peace, let him exercise the spirit of peace. If he would find love, let him dwell in the spirit of love. If he would escape suffering, let him cease to inflict it. If he would do noble things for humanity, let him cease to do ignoble things for himself. If he will but query the mind of his soul, he shall find there all the materials for building whatsoever he will, and he shall find there also the essential rock on which to build in safety. January 27th. Thought for the morning. Men go after much company and seek out new excitements, but they are not acquainted with peace. In divers paths of pleasure, they search for happiness, but they do not come to rest. Through divers ways of laughter and feverish delirium, they wander after gladness and life, but their tears are many and grievous, and they do not escape death. Drifting upon the ocean of life in search of selfish indulgences, men are caught in its storms, and only after many tempests and much privation do they fly to the rock of refuge, which rests in the deep silence of their own being. Meditation for the day. A sweet and happy soul is the ripened fruit of experience and wisdom. There is an infinite patience in nature, which it is profitable to contemplate. A comet may take 1,000 years to complete its orbit. The sea may occupy 10,000 years in wearing away the land. The complete evolution of the human race may occupy millions of years. This should make us ashamed of our hurry. Fussiness and discontent, disappointments and ridiculous self-importance over trifling things of an hour or a day. Patience is conducive to the highest greatness, the most far-reaching usefulness, and the profoundest peace. Without it, life will lose much of its power and influence, and its joy will be largely destroyed. Quote, so with well-ordered strenuousness, raise thou thy structure of success. End quote. He who fills with useful pursuits the minutiae, the minutes as they come and go, grows old in honor and wisdom, and prosperity abides with him. Thought for the evening. Meditation centered upon divine realities is the very essence and soul of prayer. It is a silent reaching upward of the soul toward the eternal. Meditation is the intense dwelling in thought upon an idea or theme with the object of thoroughly comprehending it. And whatsoever you constantly meditate upon, you will not only come to understand, but will grow more and more into its likeness, for it will become incorporated with your very being, will become in fact your very self. If therefore you constantly dwell upon that which is selfish and debasing, you will ultimately become selfish and debased. If you ceaselessly think upon that which is pure and unselfish, you will surely become pure and unselfish. January 28th. Thought for the morning. There is no difficulty, however great, but will yield before a calm and powerful concentration of thought, and no legitimate object, but may become speedily actualized by the intelligent use and direction of one's soul forces. Whatever your task may be, concentrate your whole mind upon it. Throw into it all the energy of which you are capable. The faultless completion of small tasks leads inevitably to larger tasks. See to it that you rise by steady climbing, and you will never fall. Meditation for the day. No pure thought, no unselfish deed can fall short of its felicitous results, and every such result is a happy consummation. If the day is cold and gloomy, is that a cause for despair? Do we not know that there are warm, bright days ahead? Already the birds are beginning to sing, and the tremulous trill in their little throats is prophetic of the approaching love of a new spring and of the bounty of a summer that as yet is but a sleeping germ. In the womb of this gloomy day, but whose birth is sure, and its full growth certain. No effort is vain. The spring of all your aspirations is near, very near, and the summer of your unselfish deeds will surely come to pass. Self shall depart, and truth shall take its place. The challenges one, the indivisible, shall take up his abode in me, and cleanse the white robe of the heart invisible. Go to your task with love in your heart, and you'll go to it light-hearted and cheerful. Thought for the evening. He who knows that love is at the heart of all things, and has realized the all-sufficing power of that love, has no room in his heart for condemnation. If you love people and speak of them with praise until they in some way thwart you, or do something of which you disapprove, and then you dislike them and speak of them with dispraise, you are not governed by the love which is of God. If in your heart you are continually arraigning and condemning others, selfish love is hidden from you. Train your mind in strong, impartial, and gentle thought. Train your heart in purity and compassion. Train your tongue to silence and to true and stainless speech. So shall you enter the way of holiness and peace, and shall ultimately realize the immortal love. January 29th, thought for the morning. If you realize true prosperity, do not settle down, as many have done, into the belief that if you do right, everything will go wrong. Do not allow the word, quote, competition, end quote, to shake your faith in the supremacy of righteousness. I care not what men say about the quote, laws of competition, end quote. For do not I know the unchangeable law, which shall one day put them all to rout, and which puts them to rout even now in the heart and life of the righteous man? And knowing this law, I can contemplate all this honesty with undisturbed repose, for I know where certain destruction awaits it. Under all circumstances, do that which you believe to be right, and trust the law. Trust the divine power which is immanent in the universe, and it will never desert you, and you will always be protected. Meditation for the day. All evil is corrective and remedial, and is therefore not permanent. By earnest self-examination, strive to realize and not really hold as a theory that evil is a passing phase, a self-created shadow, that all your pains, sorrows, and misfortunes have come to you by a process of undeviating and absolutely perfect law, have come to you because you deserve and require them, and that by first enduring and then understanding them, you may be made stronger, wiser, nobler. When you have fully entered into this realization, you'll be in a position to mold your own circumstances, to transmute all evil into good, and to weave with a master hand the fabric of your destiny. Cease to be a disobedient child in the school of experience, and begin to learn with humility and patience the lessons that are set for you for your ultimate perfection. Thoughts for the evening. Forget yourself entirely in the sorrows of others, and in ministering to others, and divine happiness will emancipate you from all sorrow and suffering. Quote, taking the first step with a good thought, the second with a good word, and the third with a good deed, I entered paradise, end quote. And you also enter paradise by pursuing the same course. Lose yourself in the welfare of others. Forget yourself in all that you do. This is the secret of abounding happiness. Ever be on the watch to guard against selfishness and learn faithfully to the divine lessons of inward sacrifice. So shall you climb the higher heights of happiness, and shall remain in the never clouded sunshine of universal joy, clothed in the shining garment of immortality. January 30th, thought for the morning. When the farmer has tilled and dressed his land and put in the seed, he knows that he has done all that he can possibly do, and that now he must trust to the elements and wait patiently for the course of time to bring about the harvest, and that no amount of expectancy on his part will affect the result. Even so, he who has realized the truth goes forth as a sower of the seeds of goodness, purity, love, and peace, without expectancy, and never looking for results, knowing that there is the great overruling law which brings about its own harvest in due time, and which is alike the source of preservation and destruction. Meditation of the day. Meditation for the day. Meditation centered upon divine realities is the very essence and soul of prayer. Tell me what that is upon which you most frequently and intensely think, that to which in your silent hours your soul most naturally turns, and I will tell you to what place of pain or peace you are traveling, and whether you are growing into the likeness of the divine or the bestial. There is an unavoidable tendency to become literally the embodiment of that quality upon which one most constantly thinks. Let therefore the object of your meditation be above and not below, so that every time that you revert to it in thought, you will be lifted up. Let it be pure and unmixed with any unselfish element, so shall your heart become purified and draw nearer to truth, and not defiled and dragged more hopelessly into error. Meditation is a secret of all growth in spiritual life and knowledge. Thought for the evening. The virtuous put a check upon themselves and set a watch upon their passions and emotions. In this way, they gain possession of the mind and gradually acquire calmness. And as they acquire influence, power, greatness, abiding joy, and fulfillment, and fullness and completeness of life. He only finds peace who conquers himself, who strives day by day after greater self-possession, greater self-control, and greater calmness of mind. Where the calm mind is, there is strength and rest. There is love and wisdom. There is one who has fought successfully at innumerable battles against self, who after long toil in secret against his own failings has triumphed at last. January 31st, thoughts for the morning. Sympathy bestowed increases its store in our own heart and enriches and fructifies our own life. Sympathy given is blessedness received. Sympathy withheld is blessedness forfeited. In the measure that a man increases and enlarges his sympathy, so much nearer does he approach the ideal life, the perfect blessedness. And when his heart has become so mellowed that no hard, bitter, or cruel thoughts can enter and detract from its permanent sweetness, then indeed is he richly and divinely blessed. Meditation for the day. If you ceaselessly think upon that which is pure and unselfish, you will surely become pure and unselfish. If you are daily praying for wisdom, for peace, for loftier purity, and a fuller realization of truth, and that for which you pray. Let me repeat that. If you are daily praying for wisdom, for peace, for loftier purity, and a fuller realization of truth, and that for which you pray is still far from you, it means that you are praying for one thing, whilst living out in thought and act another. If you will cease from such waywardness, taking your mind off those things, the selfish clinging to which debars you from the possession of the stainless realities for which you pray, if you will no longer ask God to grant you that which you do not deserve, or to bestow upon you that love and compassion which you refuse to bestow upon others, but will commence to think and act in the spirit of truth, you will day by day be growing into those realities, so that ultimately you will become one with them. Enter the path of meditation, and let the supreme object of your meditation be truth. Thought for the evening. Sweet is the rest, and deep the bliss of him who has freed his heart from its lusts, and hatreds, and dark desires, and he who without any shadow of bitterness, resting upon him, and looking out upon the world, with boundless compassion and love, can breathe in his inmost heart the blessing. Peace unto all living things, making no exceptions or distinctions. Such a man has reached that happy ending which can never be taken away. For this is the perfection of life, the fullness of peace, the consummation of perfect blessedness. The month of February, February 1st. Thought for the morning. In aiming at the life of blessedness, one of the simplest beginnings to be considered and rightly made is that which we all make every day, namely the beginning of each day's life. There is a sense in which every day may be regarded as the beginning of a new life in which one can think, act, and live newly, and in a wiser and better spirit. The right beginning of the day will be followed by a cheerfulness, permeating the household with a sunny influence, and the tasks and duties of the day will be undertaken in a strong and confident spirit, and the whole day will be well lived. Meditation for the day. Unrest and pain and sorrow are the shadows of life. Is there no way of escape from pain and sorrow? Are there no means by which the bonds of evil may be broken? Is permanent happiness and abiding peace a foolish dream? No. There is a way, and I speak it with gladness, by which evil may be slain forever. There is a process by which every adverse condition or circumstance can be put on one side forever, never to return. And there is a practice by which unbroken and unending peace and bliss can be partaken of and realized. And the beginning of the way which leads to this glorious realization is the acquirement of a right understanding of the nature of evil. It is not sufficient to deny or ignore evil. It must be understood. Men remain in evil because they are not willing or prepared to learn the lesson which it came to teach them. Thought for the evening. There can be no progress, no achievement without sacrifice. And a man's worldly success will be in the measure that he sacrifices his confused animal thoughts and fixes his mind on the development of his plans and the strengthening of his resolution and self-reliance. And the higher he lifts his thoughts, the more manly, upright, and righteous he becomes. The greater will be his success, the more blessed and enduring will be his achievements. February 2nd, thought for the morning. None but right acts can follow right thoughts. None but a right life can follow right acts. And by living a right life, all blessedness is achieved. Mind is the master power that molds and makes. And man is mind, and evermore he takes. The tool of thought in shaping what he wills brings forth 1,000 joys, 1,000 ills. He thinks in secret, and it comes to pass. Environment is but his looking glass. Meditation for the day. You must get outside yourself and must begin to examine and understand yourself. Evil, when rightly understood, is found to be not an unlimited power or principle in the universe, but a passing phase of human experience. And it therefore becomes a teacher for those who are willing to learn. Evil is not an abstract, something outside yourself. It is an experience in your own heart. And by patiently examining and rectifying your heart, you will be gradually led into the discovery of the origin and nature of evil, which will necessarily be followed by its complete eradication. There is no evil or ignorance. There is no evil in the universe which is not the result of ignorance, and which would not, if we were ready and willing to learn its lesson, lead us to higher wisdom and then vanish away. Every soul attracts its own, and nothing can possibly come to it that does not belong to it. Thought for the evening. Calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom, and man becomes calm in the measure that he understands himself as a thought-evolved being. And as he develops a right understanding and sees more clearly the internal relations of things by the action of cause and effect, he ceases to fret and fume and worry and grieve, and remains poised, steadfast, serene. February 3rd, thought for the morning. To follow under all circumstances the highest promptings within you. To be always true to the divine self, to rely upon the inward voice, the inward light, and to pursue your purpose with a fearless and restful heart, believing that the future will yield unto you the need of every thought and effort, knowing that the laws of the universe can never fail, and that your own will come back to you with mathematical exactitude. This is faith and the living of faith. Meditation for the day. What you are, so is your world. All that you positively know is contained in your own experience. All that you ever will know must pass through the gateway of experience, and so become part of yourself. Your own thoughts, desires, and aspirations comprise your world. And to you, all that there is in the universe of beauty and joy and bliss, or of ugliness and sorrow and pain, is contained within yourself. By your own thoughts, you make or mar your life, your world, your universe. As you build within by the power of thought, so will your outward life and circumstances shape themselves accordingly. Whatever you harbor in the inmost chambers of your heart will sooner or later be the inevitable law of reaction shape itself in your outward life. Every soul is a complex combination of gathered experiences and thoughts, and the body is but an impoverished vehicle for its manifestation. Thought for the evening. Have a thorough understanding of your work, and let it be your own. And as you proceed, ever following the inward guide, the infallible voice, you will pass on from victory to victory, and will rise step by step to higher resting places, and your ever-broadening outlook will gradually reveal to you the essential beauty and purpose of life. Self-purified health will be yours. Self-governed power will be yours, and all that you do will prosper. And I may stand where health, success, and power await my coming. If each fleeting hour I cling to love and patience, and abide with stainlessness, and never step aside from my high integrity, so shall I see at last the land of immortality. February 4th, thought for the morning. When the tongue is well controlled and wisely subdued, when selfish impulses and unworthy thoughts no longer rush to the tongue, demanding utterance, when their speech has become harmless, pure, gracious, gentle, and purposeful, and no word is uttered but in sincerity and truth, then are the 5 steps in virtuous speech accomplished. Then is the second great lesson in truth learned and mastered. Make pure thy heart, and thou wilt make thy life rich, sweet, and beautiful. Meditation for the day. To them that seek the highest good, all things subserve, the wisest ends. He who clings to self is his own enemy, and is surrounded by enemies. He who relinquishes self is his own savior, and is surrounded by friends like a protecting belt. Before the divine radiance of a pure heart, all darkness vanishes and all clouds melt away, and he who has conquered self has conquered the universe. Come then, out of your poverty, come out of your pain, come out of your troubles and sighings and complainings and heartaches and loneliness by coming out of yourself. Let the old tattered garment of your petty selfishness fall from you and put on the new garment of universal love. You will then realize the inward heaven, and it will be reflected in all your outward life. All glory and all good await the coming of obedient feet. Thought for the evening. Having clothed himself with humility, the first questions a man asks himself are, quote, how am I acting towards others? End quote. Quote, what am I doing to others? End quote. Quote, how am I thinking of others? End quote. Quote, are my thoughts of and acts towards others prompted by unselfish love? End quote. As a man in the silence of his soul asks himself these searching questions, he will unerringly see where he has hitherto failed. February 5th, thought for the morning. To dwell in love always and towards all is to live the true life, is to have life itself. Knowing this, the good man gives up himself unreservedly to the spirit of love, and dwells in love towards all, contending with none, condemning none, but loving all. The Christ spirit of love puts an end not only to all sin, but to all division and contention. Meditation for the day. All men's accomplishments were first wrought out in thought and then objectivized. When the thought forces are directed in harmony with the overruling law, they are upbuilding and preservative. But when subverted, they become disintegrating and self-destructive. To adjust all your thoughts to a perfect and unswerving faith and the omnipotence and supremacy of good is to cooperate with that good and to realize with yourself the solution and destruction of all evil. Believe and ye shall live. And here we have the true meaning of salvation. Salvation from the darkness and negation of evil by entering into and realizing the living life of the eternal good. It is the silent and conquering thought forces which bring all things into manifestation. Thought for the evening. When sin and self are abandoned, the heart is restored to its imperishable joy. Joy comes and fills the self-emptied heart. It abides with the peaceful. Its reign is with the pure. Joy flees from the selfish. It deserts the quarrelsome. It is hidden from the impure. Joy cannot remain with the selfish. It is wedded to love. February 6th, thought for the morning. In the pure heart there is no room left where personal judgments and hatreds can find lodgment, for it is filled to overflowing with tenderness and love. It sees no evil, and only as men succeed in seeing no evil in others will they become free from sin and sorrow and suffering. If men only understood that the heart that sins must, if men only understood that the heart that sins must sorrow, that the hateful mind tomorrow reaps its barren harvest, weeping, starving, resting not, no sleeping. Tenderness would fill their being. They would see with pity seeing, if they only understood. Meditation for the day. There's nothing that a strong faith and an unflinching purpose may not accomplish. There's no difficulty, however great, but will yield before a calm and powerful concentration of thought, and no legitimate object, but may be speedily actualized by the intelligent use and direction of one's soul forces. That until you have gone deeply and searchingly into your inner nature and have overcome many enemies that lurk there, can you have any approximate conception of the subtle power of thought, of its inseparable relation to outward and material things, or of its magical potency, when rightly poised and directed, and readjusting and transforming the life conditions. Every thought you think is a force sent out, and in accordance with its nature and intensity will it go out to seek a lodgment in minds receptive to it, and will react upon yourself for good or evil. Think good thoughts, and they will quickly become actualized in your outward life in the form of good conditions. Thought for the evening: to stand face to face with truth, to arrive after innumerable wanderings and pains at wisdom and bliss, not to be finally defeated and cast out, but to ultimately triumph over every inward foe. Such is man's divine destiny, such his glorious goal, and this every saint, sage, and savior has declared. And man only begins to be a man when he ceases to whine and revel, and commences to search for the hidden justice which regulates his life. And as he adapts his mind to that regulating factor, he ceases to accuse others as the cause of his condition, and builds himself up in strong and noble thoughts, ceases to kick against circumstances, but begins to use them as aids to his more rapid progress, and as a means of discovering the hidden power and possibilities within himself. February 7th, thought for the morning. The will to evil and the will to good are both within thee. Which wilt thou employ? Thou knowest what is right and what is wrong. Which wilt thou love and foster? Which destroy? Thou art the chooser of thy thoughts and deeds. Thou art the maker of thine inward state. The power is thine to be what thou wilt be. Thou buildest truth and love, or lies and hate. Meditation for the day. He only is fitted to command and control who has committed. I'll repeat. He only is fitted to command and control who has succeeded in commanding and controlling himself. If you would acquire overcoming power, you must cultivate poise and passivity. You must be able to stand alone. All power is associated with immovability. The mountain, the massive rock, the storm-tried oak all speak to us of power because of their combined solitary grandeur and defiant fixity. While the shifting sand, the yielding twig, and the waving reed speak to us of weakness because they are immovable and non-resistant and are utterly useless when detached from their fellows. He is the man of power who, when all his fellows are swayed by some emotion or passion, remains calm and unmoved. The hysterical, the fearful, the thoughtless, and frivolous. Let such seek company, or they will fall for lack of support. But the calm, the fearless, the thoughtful, and grave, let such seek solitude, and to their power, more power will be added. Be of single aim, have a legitimate and useful purpose, and devote yourself unreservedly to it. Thought for the evening. The teaching of Jesus brings men back to the simple truth that righteousness or right doing is entirely a matter of individual conduct, and not a mystical something apart from a man's thoughts and deeds. Calmness and patience can become habitual by first grasping through effort a calm and patient thought, and then continuously thinking it and living in it until, quote, use becomes second nature, end quote, and anger and impatience pass away forever. February 8th, thought for the morning. Man is made or unmade by himself. In the armory of thought he forges the weapons by which he destroys himself. He also fastens the tools with which he builds for himself heavenly mansions of joy and strength and peace. By the right choice and true application of thought, a man ascends to divine perfection. By the abuse and wrong application of thought, he descends below the level of the beast. Between these two extremes are all the grace of character, and man as a maker or master. As a being of power, intelligence, and love, and the lord of his own thoughts, man holds the key to every situation. Meditation for the day. Self-seeking, self-destruction. If you would realize true prosperity, do not settle down, as many have done, into the belief that if you do right, everything will go wrong. Do not allow the word competition to shake your faith in the supremacy of righteousness. I care not what man may say about the laws of competition, for do I not know the unchangeable law, which shall one day put them all to rout, and which puts them to rout even now in the heart and life of the righteous man? And knowing this law, I can contemplate all dishonesty with undisturbed repose, for I know where certain destruction awaits it. Those who have wandered from the highway of righteousness guard themselves against competition. Those who have wandered from the highway of righteousness guard themselves against competition. Those who always pursue the right need to trouble about such defense. Under all circumstances, do that which you believe to be right, and trust the law, trust the divine power, and you will always be protected. Thought for the evening. Whatsoever you harbor in the inmost chambers of your heart will, sooner or later, be the inevitable law of reaction. Shape itself in your outward life. Every soul attracts its own, and nothing can possibly come to it that does not belong to it. To realize this is to recognize the universality of divine law. If thou wouldest right the world and banish all its evils and its woes, make its wild places bloom and its drear deserts blossom as the rose, then right thyself. February 9th, thought for the morning. Whatever conditions are rendering your life burdensome, you may pass out of and beyond them by developing and utilizing within you the transforming power of self-purification and self-conquest. Before the divine radiance of a pure heart, all darkness vanishes and all clouds melt away, and he who has conquered self has conquered the universe. He who sets his foot firmly upon the path of self-conquest, who walks aided by the staff of faith, the highway of self-sacrifice, will surely achieve the highest prosperity and will reap abounding and enduring joy and bliss. Meditation for the day. Perfect love is perfect power. The wisely loving heart commands without exercising any authority. All things and all men obey him who obeys the highest. He thinks, and lo, he has already accomplished. He speaks, and behold, a world hangs upon his simple utterances. He has harmonized his thoughts with imperishable and unconquerable forces. And for him weakness and uncertainty are no more, as every thought is a purpose, as every act an accomplishment. He moves with the great law, not setting his punny, personal will against it. And he thus becomes a channel through which the divine power can flow in unimpeded and beneficent expression. He has thus become power itself. Perfect love is perfect wisdom. Thought for the evening. It is a silent and conquering thought, forces which bring all things into manifestation. The universe grew out of thought. To adjust all your thoughts to a perfect and unswerving faith in the omnipotence and supremacy of good is to cooperate with that good and to realize within yourself the solution and destruction of all evil. To mentally deny evil is not sufficient. It must, by daily practice, be risen above and understood. To affirm the good mentally is inadequate. It must be unswerving endeavor. It must, by unswerving endeavor, be entered into and comprehended. February 10th, thought for the morning. Every thought you think is a force sent out, whatever your position in life may be. Before you can hope to enter into any measure of success, usefulness, and power, you must learn how to focus your thought forces by cultivating calmness and repose. There is no difficulty, however great, but will yield before a calm and purposeful concentration of thought, and no legitimate object, but may be speedily actualized by the intelligent use and direction of one's soul forces. Think good thoughts and they will quickly become actualized in your outward life in the form of good conditions. Meditation for the day. If you really seek truth, you will be willing to make the effort necessary for its achievement. At the outset, meditation must be distinguished from idle reverie. There's nothing dreamy and unpractical about it. It is a process of searching and uncompromising thought, which allows nothing to remain but the simple and naked truth. Thus, meditating, you will no longer strive to build yourself up in your prejudices, but forgetting yourself, you will remember only that you are seeking the truth, and so you will remove one by one the errors which you have built around yourself in the past, and will patiently wait for the revelation of truth which will come when your errors have been sufficiently removed. Let the supreme object of your meditation be truth. Thought for the evening. That which should be and hope to be, you may be now. Non-accomplishment resides in your perpetual postponement. And having the power to postpone, you also have the power to accomplish. To perpetually accomplish, realize this truth. You shall be today and every day the ideal being of whom you dreamed. Say to yourself, quote, I will live in my ideal now. I will manifest my ideal now. I will be my ideal now. And all that tempts me away from my ideal, I will not listen to. I will listen only to the voice of my ideal. End quote. February 11th. Thought for the morning. Be as a flower, content to be, to grow in sweetness day by day. If thou wouldst perfect thyself in knowledge, perfect thyself in love. If thou wouldst reach the highest, ceaselessly cultivate a loving and compassionate heart. To him who chooses goodness, sacrificing all, is given that which is more than, and includes all. Meditation for the day. As the flower opens its petals to receive the morning light, so open your soul more and more to the glorious light of truth. Spiritual meditation and self-discipline are inseparable. You will therefore commence to meditate upon yourself so as to try and understand yourself. For remember, the great object you will have in view will be the complete removal of all your errors in order that you may realize truth. You'll begin to question your motives, thoughts, and acts, comparing them with your ideal, and endeavoring to look upon them with a calm and impartial eye. In this manner, you will be continually gaining more of that mental and spiritual equilibrium without which men are but helpless straws upon the ocean of life. Soar upward on the wings of aspiration, be fearless, and believe in the loftiest possibilities. Thought for the evening. The great Lord never cheats any man of his just due. Human life, when rightly lived, is simple with a beautiful simplicity. He who comprehends the utter simplicity of life, who obeys its laws and does not step aside into the dark paths and complex mazes of selfish desires. Selfish desire stands where no harm can reach him. Then there is fullness of joy, abounding plenty, and rich and complete blessedness. February 12th. Thought for the morning. Every man reaps the results of his own thoughts and deeds, and suffereth for his own wrong. He who begins right and continues right does not need to desire and search for felicitous results. They are already at hand. They follow as consequences. They are the certainties, the realities of life. Sweet is the rest and deep is the bliss of him who has freed his heart from its lusts and hatreds and dark desires. Meditation for the day. A beginning is a cause, and as such, it must be followed by an effect. The nature of an initial impulse will always determine the body of its results. A beginning also presupposes an ending, a consummation, achievement, or goal. A gate leads to a path, and the path leads to some particular destination. So a beginning leads to results, and results lead to a completion. There are right beginnings and wrong beginnings, which are followed by effects of a like nature. You can by careful thought, avoid wrong beginnings and make right beginnings, and so escape evil results and enjoy good results, and aiming at the life of blessedness, one of the simplest beginnings to be considered and rightly made is that which we all make every day, namely the beginning of each day's life. The effect will always be of the same nature as the cause. Thought for the evening. You are the creator of your own shadows. You desire, and then you grieve. Renounce, and then you shall rejoice. Of all the beautiful truths pertaining to the soul, none is more gladdening or fruitful of divine promise and confidence than this: that man is the master of thought, the molder of character, and the maker and shaper of character. The mold of character, the maker and shaper of character, the environment and destiny. February 13th, thought for the morning: as darkness is a passing shadow, and light as a substance that remains, so sorrow is fleeting, but joy abides forever. No true thing can pass away and become lost. No false thing can remain and be preserved. Sorrow is false, and it cannot live. Joy is true, and it cannot die. Joy may become hidden for a time, but can always be recovered. Sorrow may remain for a period, but it can be transcended and dispersed. Do not think your sorrow will remain. It will pass away like a cloud. Do not believe that the torments of sin are ever your portion. They will vanish like a hideous nightmare. Awake, arise, be holy and joyful. Meditation for the day. Wisdom inheres in the common details of everyday existence. Everything in the universe is made of little things, and the perfection of the great is based upon the perfection up of the small. If any detail of the universe were imperfect, the whole would be imperfect. If any particle were omitted, the aggregate would cease to be. Without a grain of dust, there would be no world, and the whole is perfect because the grain of dust is perfect. Neglect of the small is confusion of the great. The snowdrop is as perfect as a star. The dewdrop is as symmetrical as the planet. The microbe is not less mathematically proportioned than the man. By laying stone upon stone, plumbing and fitting each with perfect adjustment, the temple at last stands forth in all its architectural beauty. When the parts are made perfect, the whole will be without blemish. Thought for the evening. Tribulation lasts only so long as there remains some chaff of self which needs to be removed. The tribulum, or threshing machine, ceases to work when all the grain is separated from the chaff, and when the last impurities are blown away from the soul. Tribulation has completed its work, and there is no more need for it. Then abiding joy is realized. The sole and supreme use of suffering is to purify, to burn out all that is useless and impure. Suffering ceases for him who is pure. There could be no object in burning gold after the dross had been removed. February 14th. Thought for the morning. And speaking of self-control, one is easily misunderstood. It should not be associated with a destructive repression, but with a constructive expression. A man is happy, wise, and great in the measure that he controls himself. He is wretched, foolish, and mean in the measure that he allows his animal nature to dominate his thoughts and actions. He who controls himself controls his life, his circumstances, his destiny, and wherever he goes, he carries his happiness with him as an abiding possession. Renunciation precedes regeneration. The permanent happiness which men seek in dissipation, excitement, and abandonment to unworthy pleasures is found only in the life which reverses all this, the life of self-control. Meditation for the day. To neglect small tasks or to execute them in a perfunctory manner is a mark of weakness and folly. The great man knows the vast value that inheres a moment's words, greetings, meals, apparel, correspondence, rest, work, detached efforts, fleeting obligations, and the 1,001 little things which press upon him for attention. Briefly, in the common details of life, he sees everything as divinely apportioned, needing only the application of this passionate thought and action on his part to render his life blessed and perfect. He neglects nothing, does not hurry, seeks to escape nothing, but error and folly, attends to every duty as it is presented to him, and does not postpone and regret by giving himself unreservedly to his nearest duty, he attains to that combined childlike simplicity and unconscious power which is greatness. There is no way to strength and wisdom but by acting strongly and wisely in the present moment. Thought for the evening. Law, not confusion, is the dominating principle in the universe. Justice, not injustice, is the soul and substance of life, and righteousness, not corruption, is the molding and moving force in the spiritual government of the world. This being so, man has but to right himself to find that the universe is right. When I am pure, I shall have solved the mystery of life. I shall be pure. When I am free from hatred, lust, and strife, I am in truth, and truth abides in me. I shall be safe and sane and wholly free when I am pure. We shall continue February 15th, which is the thought for the morning, and it's about hatred. That's what we are up to today. We shall continue on this next page, on the next recording. Please feel free to share with me your thoughts, your comments, your feedback, your insights. Please let me know, does my style of reading resonate with you? What lessons did you learn from the messages I shared through my reading? I look forward to hearing from you. Please like or dislike this video. Please share your feedback. And please subscribe if you haven't already. Keep on shining your beautiful light. Keep on shining your beautiful light. You are perfect. You are lovely. I love you. Have a lovely day. Take care.